So you mentioned that one of the value proposition is that you can delay tech stack decisions of ML platform team or ML team. Let's say that you have a lead who ML platform team that is at the beginning, like they want to, they have first models, they're on production, but they want to keep them in a good quality, so they want to turn everything into processes, into pipelines, and so gets to another level of maturity. So, and they're thinking, okay, we can set up our tech stack using best-in-class tools and gluing them with ZenML, or maybe, and maybe this is easier and faster, we should use end-to-end ML platform. What do you do? What do you say to such leads? We have such leads, so I know that they exist.
Well, first they need to get going. They need to have somehow an idea of what they want to build, and then they put the stack together. And then this is the base where we can already help. But then if they come to certain, I don't know, if weights and biases is getting too expensive and they would like to change to Neptune, then they can swap it out at the right point in time in their journey. So this is how we would recommend them. So we are not opinionated. That's very important. We give them the tools in the beginning, and they can build their first Lego house themselves. Does that answer the question?
I think this is oftentimes asked, right? And you guys know this, but we have seen that oftentimes it's the people we talk to already know the answer to this question. So that's one thing I would like to say, that maybe we are filtering out the people who already have SageMaker end to end, and probably they're not even talking to us, probably, right? So maybe I'm a bit biased here, but having said that, I think one thing that really helps us is that we do have integrations into the end-to-end platforms already. So you can run completely on SageMaker with ZenML. You can run completely on Vertex with ZenML through ZenML. And the use case for it would be that still, I would say that the end-to-end platforms lack some, I think they're incentivized as well to lock you into their processes, right? So oftentimes what we've seen is that people already are building something on top already. They don't call it ZenML, but they have something on top, a repository, could be some script, something that is that process which is sitting on top of a SageMaker. And we can say to them, hey, you can just replace this glue code, whatever you've written, right? Just with ZenML, and you have a nice dashboard, and you have that developer experience, you have the caching, you have the integrations, and you have the flexibility. And oftentimes for us, it's enough of an entry point that they start. And then comes the next point, is if they want to switch or not, right? So if they want to switch to something, one particular component out, let's say they want to deploy on Selden, not on SageMaker endpoints or something. Okay, swap out some stack component and try it. And for us, the entry point is often through managed services, actually. That's why we try to have managed integrations as well with them. And oftentimes we find them, it's to be completely end-to-end with one generic end-to-end solution is often very hard for ML teams, because their use case is particularly so specific that the general offering is too general for their needs, right? So they need the ability to think about it different ways. So I think that's usually how we deal with it. But sometimes teams come to us and already have, okay, we want to connect this tool. That's already what we POC'd all of them. We know exactly our stack. So then we can also come in with ZenML, right? So
I would also like to double down on this. So I was in this situation where we were building a machine learning platform in-house. We were using SageMaker, right? But as I think already mentioned, SageMaker's SDK is too technical, like not necessarily technical, but for a regular machine learning engineer or data scientist, unusable. So we would build this layer of abstraction on top of it, not just because we wanted to be able to switch the technology underneath. It's just too complicated to work with.
It's just to make it easier. I mean, exactly. I mean, that's the entry point for ZenML oftentimes. Hey, I think that writing a ZenML pipeline is easier than writing a SageMaker pipeline. It can be as simple as that, and you can start. So all the other things come on top of that.
And guys, does it mean that prerequisites, like if you consider, okay, like let's say that we are using a lot of SageMaker components, but I'm not happy with some of them and or I'm missing something, I want to replace something. So sounds like ZenML can help me, but does it mean also that I need to, like, in order to make sense of it, I need to switch my pipelines to ZenML pipelines, my SageMaker pipelines to ZenML pipelines?
Yeah, that's a challenge. So oftentimes they have to do it. So they have to write ZenML pipelines. We try to make ZenML pipelines just Python, so that it's easy for them. But at the end of the day, if they have a lot of like legacy, then they have to do a transfer. But we have found over the time that it's easier and easier to do that because, you know, they've often, as I said, they've often abstracted it away anyway. So as Arimas, you probably might have done it as well. You might have abstracted away the SDK logic from your business logic anyway.
Yeah, but you can still, so probably the question here is how complex can ZenML get when it comes to a pipeline, right? Because from these base kind of functionalities of SageMaker, you can very easily construct really complex pipelines. So the question here is, if you already have a super complex pipeline, is it easy to migrate to ZenML?
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's the more complex the pipeline, the harder it is. So often we ask them to decompose their pipelines into multiple pipelines, and we can talk about that. But there's a value in actually rethinking it at that point. So, but that migration hit we have to do anyway, right? So if you're at a point where you want to use a tool, you need to migrate, and we don't really have a magic bullet to solve that particular problem. But I think oftentimes people find it easy because we do have all of the fundamental pieces in place to build a complex pipeline.
And it can be as big as you can imagine, right? Branching and conditionals, etc. Because I didn't work with ZenML too much, but usually the examples are very simple. You kind of pre-process, train, deploy, validate, deploy, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's how you have to start the people, but we've seen many very complicated pipelines as well. I mean, we're working on some core things, which will come out in the next few months. There are some things we don't support, but very soon, I think we'll cover probably the majority of the cases.